some,
Sorry
then
about
you have,
that.
that's okay. That's okay. Then you have some recourse to go back and say, hey, you didn't do this right. A lot of people run from the city because they don't want them checking their property or checking their hand. Well, I invite it, because I'm going to tell you, if I get a framer in one of those properties, if they're framing up my property and it's not done right, when the inspector comes, he's going to say, this is not right. You want them to tell you that. You want them to tell you that up front. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem when you start going to put those walls up. It's going to be crooked. It's not going to be right. Those kind of things. So I would say don't run from the city inspectors. People think about code and they say, I don't want code enforcement, involved in this and that. Well, that's a whole nother issue once a code is violated. But up front, you can keep that from happening by using credible um, contractors, and also by inviting inspections. Okay. The other thing now, it's hands-on.
Linda,
Once we find, go right ahead.
at one
Oh,
point you said something, you said CMA. What did that
uh-huh.
mean?
That is a market appraisal. It's an appraisal that a real estate person can give you. Okay, instead of going to buy a full-blown um, appraisal, then a real estate agent or a broker can give you a CMA. What that's going to entail is what the property value is right now, but then you're going to go and find property that has sold already, that this property is going to be like. For example, we just finished what it was a 1-bedroom. We turned it into a 3-bedroom. It had the room. It had the space. So we got a CMA or a market appraisal for what that house was worth right now as a 1-bedroom. But then we got appraisals, or we got the market on what a 3-bedroom sold for, a 3-bedroom, 2 baths sold for. And now that gives us a post appraisal, so that we could have a window as to what this house is going to be worth when we're done. Does that make sense? Okay, so then now hands-on. This is one of the couples that we worked with. They, wanted to learn the business, and so they came and they put the money down that they needed to help purchase the home, and then they jumped in and we did the work. Here's the house as it was when we got it. It wasn't pretty. I can tell you that. It wasn't very pretty at all, but we don't expect them to be. This is the kind of house, in the neighborhoods that we're seeing, that they don't necessarily have to be torn down. Can we see a vision? Can we see something that can be done with them? Well, we did. Yeah, we walked in. My husband said, oh my God, there's a hole in the roof, and sunlight's coming through. Yep, it sure was. Well, it was a bit of a mess, but that's what we expect. Our first thing then in this house is to gut it completely. We tore out all those walls and all this old bathroom plumbing and things, and then we just started to work on it. And again, these are concrete layers. That's what they do. I don't lay concrete. So you call in those that do what they do. And so we called in and had a concrete slab laid on the property. Contractors there with us. And this was the end result. It turned out to be a beautiful little home. And that's our signature. That's one thing that I love when I go different places, barn doors. We love barn doors and hardwood floors. Well, this is what this hardwood floor turned out. It was black when we first got it, but we have a hardwood guy that we work with, and he makes it look like new money. And so this is that same house that we worked on. It turned out beautifully, and we sold it. That was the end result, is that we're putting in quality products because our goal is to sell it. And then you think about yourself, when you go in and you buy a house, you don't want old, necessarily old stuff. You want it to be new. And so that's what we do. We don't it works for some people, maybe in a rental, but when you're going to flip a home to sell it, then you want it to look like like it's worthy to buy, not just to rent. And so that's what we try to end up with a product like that. So this is one of the little couples, and then another one. These are actually family members that we've taught. We were on a project that day. I don't have the project here. I figured that was enough. I didn't want to wear you guys out with pictures in that, but that's our goal. Is to help ones learn how they can do the business, and so that's what we've been doing for a while. We buy tax sale houses. We buy, property distressed in other ways, and then we see the potential in them, and then we go from there.
So Linda, there's a question in the chat window. How did the assessed value change for that house that you just showed that was renovated?
Oh, well, we bought that property for, I think it was 13,000. We bought it for 13,000, and we sold the property for 109,000. So we did pretty good in there. Yeah. Yeah, but that was a smaller one, which was perfect for the couple that we worked with. That was their first flip, and it was a lot of work, but we all did pretty good on that one.
So Linda, this is Angelina.
Hi, Angela.
Hi. So how hard or easy to find contractors for this kind of projects? So, and are they all local, or you need to go maybe outside of South Bend to find contractors for this type of projects?
Well, I would say you want to keep them local. And the reason is you want them to be accessible to you. You want them on site when you need them. Now, we have used people from out of town, but it may be for one specific thing, and they come, they do that day, and they're done. But I would not really depend on out of town contractors for local work, just because you need them accessible. You need them to be able to get there and finish your job on time. And there are some credible ones. I'll be happy to share with you if you're local and you need some contractors. There's some sham ones too now. I mean, there's some that I wouldn't turn my back on, but there are a lot of credible contractors. And again, I'll be happy to share. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, and to do this all renovation, who would hire these contractors? Would it be you, or it's a kind of investors who are interested in this property? So again, who would be hiring, say, contractors?
I would, for example.
You would, okay.
Yeah, if I'm the general contractor for it, which is what you become, if you are handling the project, then you will be the one coordinating everybody. You're going to be the general contractor on that project, so you'll be the one hiring and determining what the pay is going to be. So, and there's a lot behind that, because you're also going to be the one watching the bottom line. You're going to be watching the dollars. So, for example, if you know that this house needs a roof, which you've already counted out, then you have a margin within which you need to stay in. And so when you call roofers, you're going to say, go check it out. I don't call less than 3, and I'll say, go check it out till I get the numbers that I want. I'll call more, but no less than 3. Because you're going to be watching the numbers too. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Monty, who's on the call, sings a similar song when it comes to the small developments. Monty, I don't know if you want to jump in, but on these smaller projects, the necessity for the developer to be hands-on, right? Otherwise, you're probably not going to make money. But if the developer can be in there and be real hands-on, like you're saying, like get the quotes, check the numbers, and not pass that off to somebody else, because that way you're going to eat up your margin.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I agree, Marty. And also,
go ahead if you want to say something, Monty.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you want to get used to using people that you can trust, over time. And you have to be your own general contractor. You're not going to be able to afford to hire a general contractor, these rehabs and things like that, because they're going to put in a factor. Usually they're going to put in a big fat factor for things they don't know and they can't see. And so that you'll be upside down probably, right, Linda, even before you even get started.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Monty. Real quick, yeah, absolutely. And because it's your project, what you want to accomplish. You know what you want the end result to be. For example, it was just some of the funniest things happening. Probably many of the other developers on here have had that happen. You have one vision in your mind and you communicate that. You think they got it, but then you come back and instead of the right wall, they're getting ready to pull down the left wall. It's like, no, no, that's not the right spot, so for other reasons, you need to be hands-on as well. And also, I'm not an architect, but what I do is I go through for each room, I draw it out and I say, this is what it looks like. And that's so helpful. I tape it on that room wall so that whoever's working on that, they know this is where things go, whether it's the electrician or whether it's the plumber, whoever's working in that area, the drywaller, they know this is where the wall goes. It sounds real simple, but it can cause a big problem if they don't get that right from the beginning.
That's great. Linda, how do you find a property like that? Or, what are your techniques for identifying a property and what are you watching out for in terms of the quality of the property or the location or the cost?
All of the above, just that worksheet that I put up earlier, that helps us determine the property that we'll work on is the location. If it's a sellable location, also the property itself, if we can put enough, put the work in there and then get enough equity out at the end of it. And when I say equity, I mean, you have to count things that, that most people try to say you don't need. For example, I'm a real estate broker and I can put just a sign in the yard and hope somebody drives by and wants that house, but that's not how we sell our homes. I put that home on the market so that it has access from, all of the brokers in our area. Otherwise, you may be sitting on a property for a while. The longer that property sits, the more money you're losing. So you have to count in the cost of a real estate broker selling your property. Okay, whether it's me or another one, then you have to count in certain costs. So I try to count in all the costs that will be involved in selling it. You have your own closing costs, things like that people overlook. And then when they get to the closing table, they think, wow, I'm like $8,000-9,000 shorter than where I should have been. Well, it's probably because they didn't count in all the costs. So we count in all those costs when we look at that property before we make a bid on it, Marty.
Linda, I agree with you about having a drawing or a floor plan of the rehab, how it is now and how you want to see it in the future, because on those hidden costs are very difficult to gain unless you're so far experienced or you have a contractor or a team of contractors that are experienced. So it's very good to have that because the hidden costs are they can break the project real quick.
Yes,
so I'm glad that you're doing that with that kind of foresight.
Yeah. Well, I've learned. I've learned. I've done it the other way too, and tried to, try to sell it, put the sign in the yard, sell it myself, that kind of thing. When we first started out, I'm like, you know what? This is costing us money. The longer you keep it, the longer it's, the more money it's going to cost you. So I would, I would really encourage you to use people that do what they do. Use real estate agents, use real estate brokers, agents, whatever they are in your area. to help you sell your house. You can also use them to help you find the houses because they have their pulse, their finger on the pulse of those houses. And they may know of people that are getting ready to sell that it's not on the market yet. And so they can put you on to people like that, you know. And personally, I can't buy all the houses. So I work with several investors that, you know, right now I'm supposed to be resting, right? I think we did 4 flips this year, and my husband and I are like, you know what, I'm tired, you know. So, you know, I'm resting. I'm not actively looking to purchase a house right now. But even when I am, I can't buy all of them. So I flip them over to other investors, you know, that I work with constantly. So, you know, rely on real estate brokers. They're going to help you. They'll be able to help you find homes that you might not otherwise have access to, even before they get on the market sometimes, you know, and on the market, they're not always bad. People say don't buy it on the market, but you can buy homes that are on the market and still make a good a profit.
Hey, Linda, I had a quick question. So how did you get from the point of when you were showing us those pictures of you learning on the job site, right, to being able to create as a general contractor yourself an estimate of construction costs that's not just a general, you know, $150 a square foot, but actually detailed and maybe a little bit more precise?
That's a very good question. And one way is by actually pricing the items. I actually price the items. For example, if I know that we need to put in a kitchen with cabinets, well, I'm taking those measurements and I'm pricing the cabinets. It's not just a general estimate of what those cabinets will cost. And now, after having done it for so long, I do have an idea now. I know what Lowe's cabinets cost as opposed to Office, Home Depot or Menards. I do have a general idea now because we've been doing it for a while, but it takes actually pricing things out. You actually need to go and before you do a build or a remodel, you need to find out what the price of wood is. This year, we got hit so bad on wood, it was crazy. And probably,
Yes, it was.
oh my goodness, a 2x4 went from $3.29 up to $8. I'm like, oh my God. So when it came down to 4, we grabbed those 2x4s. Even though we didn't need all of them right now, we knew we had projects coming up. So you actually need to go and price things out, get the square footage of what it is, and then, do the pricing on it. And they do have programs that you can do that with, but I'm so hands-on. I go ahead and I do that. I do it personally. I make the calls and I do the walks and price everything out.
Jose, I see you shaking your head yes.
Thank you.
What Linda's saying. Did you have a similar experience as a?
Oh, definitely. I think the price was more than $9 on those 2x4s.
Oh,
Yeah.
goodness.
I wanted to say something, Linda, you mentioned work with the brokers, but I think the bigger aspect of that is network. And you're right. We run out of money before we run out of projects. So it's really good to have somebody else. Today I was at a project, for example, in Mishawaka, and I had just brought some supplies for the guys working there to board up some windows because it's kind of cold and the weather's not the best. And while I'm there, a truck pulls up and they say, "Is this house for sale?" So right away we started networking, and so this person has been buying houses around town, and we've missed each other. He's been in South Bend for the past 12 years, and I've been in this circle for nearly 20 years. We had never met, but it was a really nice conversation to have. But although he's friends with other friends of mine in the same business, there's just so much business in here. But it is it's all really good. It's the aspect about networking, because you never know who you're going to meet, and it's who you're going to get to know. But it's also very good to just expand what we're doing and ask people who know a little bit more than ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. And that's one other reason or way I got from where I was to learning to where I am now. I listen and I watch, I pay attention, and I'm, I can hang drywall like a champion, but I don't want to hang drywall, but I know what that should look like. I know what it should look like when they hang that drywall. So, networking and getting other people's opinion. And like I said, I'm a big believer in letting people do what they do. If they're a professional at what they like, the filmmaker, that was a beautiful, by the way, that was really beautiful film at the beginning. Very, very nice. Don't even give me the opportunity to make a film. That is not me. Look, I had a hard time doing this little slide presentation, okay? So I really believe in letting people do what they do, giving them the credit that, for that's their expertise. So I let them do that.
Hey, Linda, I've got a question for you. First off, thanks very much for taking the time to do this presentation. It's great.
You're welcome.
I was pretty lucky on my last, I've only flipped.
I've got to say this first. I love the red hair. I'm loving.
Thanks very much.
Okay, go on.
I was pretty lucky on my last house. I put way too much money in it and the market took off and I just got out of it with the skin of my teeth. I'm wondering, what advice do you have when you just get in too deep? Do you cut and run? Do you just put it on the market and take your loss, roll it onto the next house, or do you put it on the rental market to see if you can recoup anything?
Yeah, those are some really good questions. Yep, I just cut my losses because I don't and everybody's different. We at one point had 17 rentals and it was a piece of work, let me tell you. So that's just not my forte. Some people love it, they love the long-term money and that works for them. But when we find ourselves getting in that position, first thing we do is we start cutting what we were perhaps intending to put into this home, what we can cut. For example, if I'm kind of, I'm kind of on the ornate kind of side, so instead of putting the, $150 fixtures in for the kitchen, okay, so now I need to go to the $99 ones. They're just as nice, but we're going to cut this by a third. So yeah, so now I start looking at, okay, where am I overspending? But you have to do that along the way, not just when you're at the end of the project.
Yeah, I did not do that. I wanted to make it look as good as I possibly could.
Been there and done that too, so I understand. But that's the first thing is that you watching your numbers along the way before you even, before you even get to a third of it, then you stop and say, okay, where am I? You're gonna, as a general contractor, you're gonna be watching those numbers so that you don't get upside down, because we always put in fat, when we're starting out, because we're so excited and and I can do this and and do that, and so you start cutting the fat out. Mm-hmm.
Hi, Linda. This is Barbara.
Barbara,
I really admired your slideshow. It was really nice. I really need to get a one-on-one with you.
Absolutely.
Because I'm a local investor. As a matter of fact, one of the first slide that they showed, the house, was one of mine that I finished in May and got it sold and was very excited about it. But I need help with getting contractors because I want to let people do what they do. But I haven't been fortunate in that area. I've had a few people that I've hired and end up redoing what they did. And so you got to get discouraged, and I've learned over the years how to do quite a bit. And so I know how to do it. I just don't want to anymore. I've kind of got burned out. And so if I can find someone who do what they do, I would be happy to let them.
Absolutely. I'm gonna put my phone number right now in this chat box.
Okay.
So you or anybody else can, call me, okay?
I definitely will.
I will be happy to help. And
What's your best availability? Like what days are you mostly free?
you can call me anytime. And
Okay.
and if I don't answer right then, I will call you back as soon as possible. And I'm a great texter. I just, even sitting here, I've had to do text, so
Okay.
totally accessible by text, even if I'm in the
Okay.
meeting, almost always return a text. But yeah, I'll be happy to
Okay.
help you.
Yeah.
And when
Okay,
I say let people do what they do, I don't
Mhm.
mean do anything. I
Yeah.
truly not. I mean, we had one contractor that swear he could drywall. I went in there and I'm looking at that ceiling and up. I was like, what happened? Well, I was
Yeah.
teaching so how to do. I said,
Yeah.
no, this is not a teaching ground. That does not look like quality work. You know what? You're off that. If he was doing some other work for us too, and he did a good job, but he was not a drywaller.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
that's what I've ran into too. They can do one thing well, but the other, they say they can, but it don't always turn out that way.
and I've learned that if they, usually the first thing they say they can do that, but then when they start saying, and I can do this and I can do that too, it's like,
Yeah.
way too much,
Yeah.
so, and we never give one contractor the whole job. Yeah, we just, as a matter of practice, we do
Okay.
not give one contractor the whole job, because if you have a problem with that one contractor, your whole job is held up.
Yeah, I learned that too.
Yeah, we don't give we'll give, a drywaller, we'll give a flooring guy, we'll give him that. We'll, and we, you can still watch the numbers. You have to watch the numbers even better. And then we'll have, someone that's a finisher, that kind of thing. We don't give any one person,
Okay.
and we usually have 3 or more, depending on how big the project is,
Okay.
And the
Do
fact
you
that
do you give each one the scope of work for what they're doing, or do you just give them the whole scope of work and just show them what their part is?
No, I just give them what they're doing.
Okay.
Yeah. They don't need access to my whole project.
Okay.
Yeah. I just give them what they're doing, and that keeps them focused. They'll focus on
Okay.
what they've done, and often I never pay them hourly, that's
Okay.
just, that's just out, because they'll drag their feet as long as they can if you're
Yeah,
paying
ran
them
into that too. You kind of learn as you go what not to do.
I know it, right? You hate to learn by trial and errors,
Oh, I
so
tell you.
be able to share this with whoever can learn from it. But yeah, we don't pay hourly. We give them a, we have a window of what we're spending, and and then we offer either midway or lower than what we
Okay.
have that portion of the job. And then we
Okay.
don't pay them, unless they have to buy supplies, we don't we pay our contractors up front,
Okay.
because they always want money up front, but we buy our own supplies. That helps us, because we get discounts from wherever we go,
Right.
because we buy supplies a lot. So we generally buy our own supplies unless it's real specific, like electrical,
Right.
or like plumbing.
Plumbing. Yeah.
But we buy our own supplies, and we don't
Okay.
give them money up front. They have to do at least half the job, and then we'll give them a third of the money. And
Okay.
then when they're done with, the job, we'll give them the rest of the money. But unless they're buying supplies, we don't give them money.
Okay. Do they sign lien waivers?
Yes, they
Okay.
sign lien waivers. That's right, when you pay them. And depending on who it is, for us, if they're a contractor that works with us often, they also sign W-9s, because at the
Okay.
end of the year, I need to give them a 1099.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I will call soon.
Yeah, no problem. I suggest you work with an accountant too, you know, to help you through that, navigate that process. Because I'm not an accountant, but you know, I know that I'm not counting all this money. I'm giving you $10,000, $20,000. That's not my money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
money. So I know.
I'm okay with that. I worked with my son with hard money lenders, and I had to do that part for him. So I'm okay with that part.
Very good. Yeah, feel free to call me and
Okay.
anytime I can help with advice or whatever I can help with, I would be happy to.
Thank you so much.
Linda, since you've got the chat window open, there was a question in there from Angelina about who your typical investor, what your typical investor looks like. I don't know if you want to address that.
Sure.
The question there, local folks, or are these folks from outside of South Bend? And are they repeat investors?
Good questions. They are usually local folks, and they are often repeat investors. And I have a lot of female investors, you know. So I don't know if it's because the face of our business is that I'm female and they feel a little more comfortable with me. I'm not sure, but I have a lot of female investors, you know, but almost all of, let me just make, yeah, I have a lot of repeat investors as well. So I try to do them right. You know, I try to walk them through the process because I don't like to lose money. And if I'm, you know, I'm trying to help you through this, I don't want to see you lose money either. So you know, I tend to try and walk you through the process, you know. But also I want to say this while it's on my mind, with tax sale properties, you really have to be careful when you're purchasing those, because you can really get into a bind. I mean, you need to cross your T's and dot your I's and use an attorney. You know, I use an attorney. I'm a real estate broker, but I always use an attorney with tax sale properties, you know, because you can really get into a bind with liens and also with buying properties that hopefully you go by each one, go drive, literally go by and look at that property, because it may say there's a property there and it actually is not. You know, I just had one of my clients, and she was just so upset because she bought a property on a tax sale, and it takes a year anyway before everything works out. And she did hire an attorney to, you know, do the paperwork. Well, I wasn't involved in the transaction from the beginning, but she called me now that she found out that she has 4 lots instead of a house. She has 4 lots, vacant lots. I'm like, how in the world? You know, and I asked, did you go and drive by and look at the house? She said, yes, I looked at the house and it had the numbers on the house. Well, it had the same numbers that the lot had, but it had different ID numbers, you know. So you really have to look scrupulously when you're buying a tax sale property at the tax sale.
If Monty's lawyer Sharon were here, she would be applauding right now, because she gave the same warning message last month when we had our session. You know, it's sometimes painful to hire a lawyer and it seems expensive, but it can sometimes also bail you out of a really bad situation.
Yeah, I wouldn't even mess with the tax sale property without an attorney. I just would not. They, you know, and if they're tax attorneys, they know what they're doing. They've been doing this. And so, you know, I hand it over and I don't think about it. And they, you know, I've not ever had a problem once the attorney takes care of it, you know. So yeah, I would definitely encourage you to don't do that on your own. You know, get an attorney. Yeah.
Hey, Linda, since you're talking about tax sale properties, can you tell us a little bit more about that process, or what's the difference between the commissioner sale and the sheriff's sale, and what can you tell us maybe a little bit about some of your successes and even failures, if there were any, with going through that process?
First of all, the difference in a regular tax sale is and a commissioner sale. Tax sale is basically the person is delinquent on taxes. Usually it's more than 2 years that they're delinquent on the taxes, and then it's sold so that the taxes can be paid. If it's not sold at that initial sale, it goes to the commissioner, and then the commissioner sells that property for a reduced rate. So that means you basically are going to a sale after the sale. Okay, so the commissioner sale is an after sale of property. And so it's not it's usually picked over by then, but you might find something, in there. You just have to look a little deeper. And then the sheriff's sale is usually a local sale by a sheriff, and that's not just for taxes. That is usually for the mortgage on the property. So that's going to be a bigger amount, and that amount is due the day that you buy that property. Now, the thing to the buyer beware, I guess, on the sheriff's sale. I mentioned the tax sale, and the commissioner sale would be the same thing. Get an attorney, for the tax or commissioner sale. But now on the sheriff's sale, you can actually go to your, local county city building here and purchase that property. Do your homework, because ones have been known to purchase a property that they thought they were purchasing a property, and instead of buying a first mortgage, they were buying a second mortgage. Okay, so you want to be careful about that, because if you buy a second mortgage, the first mortgage holder still owns that home. You don't own that home. You just own a second mortgage now.
Yikes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So you have to really, do your homework. In that case, I would actually, I would enlist a title company, to actually run a title on this property before I buy it at a sheriff's sale, So, and it's maybe $150, $125, $150 for that, but is it worth it to me when I'm getting ready to buy a $40,000 property? It sure is, So, yeah, you definitely want to get a title search for a sheriff's sale property. Mhm.
Great advice. There's another question in the chat window, Linda, from Tim. Do you mind letting us know any real estate attorneys here in South Bend that you trust?
Real estate attorneys in South Bend. Now, that's a funny one, because my attorney is actually out of Illinois.
Oh.
Okay. Yep, my attorney is out of Illinois, the one that I use and trust. So I've not used a real estate attorney here because I haven't had to go beyond the tax sale property. I've not had to use a real estate attorney for other reasons. So I can't honestly say that. Maybe Jose, do you know a good real estate attorney here?
Yeah, I just picked up my phone to call him. Tim, maybe I can text you offline. I think you're the Tim that I know, just around the corner. So yeah, I just had a conversation with a couple of attorneys today, but I don't know what it is that you need. So sometimes that's the specialty attorney as well, not just the general attorney.
Well, share with us, because I don't know. I mean, honestly, I've not ever had to use a real estate attorney here. So, and part of it is because of me. I've already had connections with people, and the attorney that I use is in Illinois. I'll be happy to share that name if you like, but I think it's good if you can find a local one, especially if you're newer at it. But I do have a attorney that does all my tax sale properties, so I'd be happy to share that. But if you want to share with us, Jose, a local one, this is it. Oh, Bruce Huntington. Okay.
And so the good news is that the learning series session for March of 2022 is going to feature Bruce Huntington, who is a local real estate attorney and who's taught at IUSB. And he's going to help us, those of you who joined the call, dive a little deeper into the nitty gritty of real estate law itself. A little different than what Ms. Simmons shared with us last month. I think Bruce will be very specific with us about real estate law, and he's very experienced in South Bend. So if you're interested, March, he'll be on the call. I'm sure he'll entertain a phone call before then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Marty, I've also used Jay Lewis at THK. So he was a good one. And he's 574-276-0726. And he's Jay Lewis at thklaw.com, LEWIS, and the letter J, Jay Lewis. But he was really good, and he's right on LaSalle. He helped me through my commercial transaction.
Thank you.
That's great. Yeah, I've heard his name a few times too, and usually in a very good context. So thank you for sharing that, Kay.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. In case I ever need them, I have a couple names.
Yeah, to second Marty's comments about Bruce Huntington, actually, he is my real estate attorney. He's also a commercial appraiser, and he's also a real estate broker here in Indiana. And I was actually at his office earlier today, and we're walking through a transaction, but on one certain situation, he said, you need to talk to so-and-so, and he referred me to another attorney because it's a little bit of a different specialty. So one of those things is always have an attorney review your documents, because it's really easy to walk into a problem not understanding what we're doing. We may mean well and we have good intentions, but without attorney review, we could walk into a can of worms that we never anticipated. So that's a very good thing to do, is to discuss it with an attorney, with a trustworthy attorney.
Absolutely. And, and I say that I don't use a local attorney, but I always use a title company, and the title companies have attorneys on staff. And so anything that we may need in that way, the title company's they're going to pull it up. They're going to find things. So for me, that works. Otherwise, because of being a broker and that, I haven't had to use an attorney for other reasons. So, okay, other than the tax sale.
Linda, there's another question in the chat window from Cheryl Ash about buying HUD repossessed property. I don't know if you have any experience with that or any advice to share.
I am a HUD representative, actually. I'm a certified HUD buyer for their property. So yes, my experience with them is that it used to be people thought, they felt that if you got a HUD home, it was going to be like a really, really good deal. And sometimes it turned out to be that way, but right now their prices are market. They're pretty much market for what they need as far as work. And I can tell you this: if you get a bid on a HUD property, then you want to get your paperwork in like as soon as possible, because if you don't meet their timeline, they will drop that property from your hand, and they will put it right back on the market the next day. So if they tell you have 72 hours to get this and that in, then you want to make sure you get it in. But as a HUD certified agent, before we make a bid on the property, I try to have my client prepared as far as their documents. I try to have their documents prepared and say, okay, this is what we need. We've got to have this to them, and we've got to have this because they are very, very strict on their timelines. Also, the first thing HUD wants is, because it's housing and urban development. So what they want is they want homeowners to buy those homes. Okay, so when you first see a house go up on HUD, it's going to only be for ones that want to live in the home. Okay, and so if it didn't sell then after a certain time period, then they're going to open it up for investors and whoever else wants that home. So that's their priority, though, is for, they want people to live in there. They don't want to encourage rentals. So that's why you may not be able to bid on them when you first see it. But then after a while, if if they don't sell, then they will sell to anybody.
Do you know what their timeline is, how long they give the homeowner time to bid before they open it up for others?
They can do it whenever pretty much whenever they're ready to, but they'll at least give it about a week, sometimes 2 weeks. Sometimes I've seen them go a little bit longer than that. But yeah, and they can open it up, and they do. They'll open it up. You'll be looking today, and then it changes tomorrow. But usually they change on Sundays.
Okay.
So after Sunday, then you see what's going on Monday, and then go from there. Mhm.
Great. Other questions, folks? We got 15 minutes left, so we've got time for a few more questions. We can tap Linda's expertise here while we've got her.
15 minutes. I thought I talked so long. I'm like, I know y'all tired of hearing me. No. I want to hear you. I want to hear some of your experiences. What have been some of your experiences? And thank you so much, Brian, for sharing with us, because that happens more often than not, that we can find ourselves getting really close to that line of not making money, or even going under. So thank you for that. I appreciate you sharing that with us. So.
That was our first true flip, I suppose, but we were living in it at the time. And yeah, it was our learning house, we put it down as. But we couldn't find good contractors, so we did pretty much everything ourselves on the house. Wow. Even down to the basement. We got in and after a few months realized the basement flooded. So we hand dug that basement out, filling 5-gallon buckets, just 5 ton of dirt and concrete, just hauling it out, putting in new drain tile and stuff. So yeah, a lot of lessons. So yeah, it was good though.
Yeah.
I have a question, Cheryl Ash. Beside like share sales and HUD repossessed properties, what are other places to look for property besides through the traditional going to a real estate agent to start looking?
Just drive around. I mean, drive around and look for houses that are unkept, that the grass is growing, or you may see tags or signs on the door. Then you can. I've actually, when I started bird dogging, and I've actually went up and knocked on the door, and seen if anybody lived there. Then you can go to the county city building and look up the information. Or you may have some kind of app, or you can go to peoplesearch.com and perhaps look up their address and then try and contact an owner that way. I'd say drive by, just drive by and see if anybody's living. It looks like they've been abandoned, the home has been abandoned or unkept. That's a sign that maybe there's either they don't live there anymore, or there's some financial issues or something going on with the property.
This has nothing to do with finding real estate property, but because I work with sex offenders and as part of my volunteer work, I'm always having to try to find where they can live. And so I look up the sex offender list, and I then plug in the address to GIS, and GIS gives me who the owner of that property is. And that's what I tell my sex offenders I'm working with. Okay, here's the person. I've been able to find their phone number, through some other things. Call them up and see if they have anything available to rent.
Okay. Well, there's another way to find property. So GIS. Yeah. Thank you.
Do you have any thoughts on that question? Finding properties?
Well, actually, I matched a client of mine with one of Linda's former properties a while ago. So there's also, like, back to the networking part and the driving around. There's different ways to tell that a house is available. It may not have a for sale sign on it, but when you have a little garden growing in the gutters, and the shrubs have overgrown the doorway so much, and you can't see the sidewalk because there's so many newspapers and mail piled up on the the steps, those are signs that the house is available, or that nothing ever changes at that house. There's always the same static look. And so before I was in real estate investing, all I was doing is education. But once I got into real estate, my antennas go up when I see a house. And there's a variety of ways. I think you brought up the three typical ways, Linda, earlier, with the tax sale, the sheriff's sale, and the commissioner's sales, but there's a variety of other ways to look at it. That's why I believe in a lot of networking, because you never know who you're going to meet who has a problem house that is now available for purchase by somebody else.
I definitely agree, Jose. And you know, most everybody is in the process of buying or selling property. That's what I found. I'm like, when you know, you talk to most people, they either want to buy or sell property, whether it's personal or it is for investment purposes. So I love the thought of networking. Like Jose mentioned, networking is so important. And, you know, and your friends and family, I've learned this too, they're not going to shout that I want to invest in a property. They may say it subtly, boy, that would be nice to have a property and make some income. Well, listen to their whispers, you know, listen when they say it softly, because they probably mean it. They just don't know where to start, you know. So I've learned to do that too, is listen to their whispers and say, oh, you know what? Have you thought about this? You know, and some people just want to be silent investors. I have two a friend of the family, you know, one is a nurse that makes like crazy money every week. And, you know, and she's like, I want to invest in real estate, but I don't want to do a thing. I'll just give you the money. I'm like, you know, oh, okay, you know, I can do that. So you know, so you listen, listen to what they're saying. A lot of times they mean it, you know, and they mean it. I just texted her last night and to note so that she knew that I haven't found quite the right property yet, but I'm still on the search for it. You know, just keep putting your money in the pot, you know. And so, yeah, you can. Friends and family are another good resource. I never, you know, I never hound them, or, you know, even once they whisper it, if I say, you know what, I can help you, this is what you need to do, then if they jump on it from that point, then we move forward. If they don't and they let it go, I let it go too. Okay, because you don't want to feel pressured or, you know, obligated to work with you, you know, because you're family. I never wanted to be and try never to be a pushy real estate agent. That's just not me. I know when people want to buy, they'll buy. If people want to sell, they'll sell. If they don't, you can talk all you want to, they're not going to do it. You know, and Jose, you probably had the same experience. I mean, I've taken people to homes and I think, wow, this is beautiful. And then you take them to another one and it's you see all the imperfections and they love it, you know, and so that's what they buy. So I don't try to talk people into or out of what their decision is. I just, you know, I just take them to the, you know, to that point and let them choose.
Hey, Linda, this is Barbara again. Do you do renovations on like multifamilies also? Like,
we'll renovate anything.
Okay.
Yeah, we
that's
do.
what I'm looking for now. I would like to do a multifamily. The need is great. I know quite a few people looking for homes, and so I told them I'll do my best to find something.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We've renovated. I'll you know, it doesn't matter. We've actually put second floors on homes that was in fires, you know,
Okay.
and second floor missing. So we've, you know, we've done all kind of. I don't know if you are most of WUBU, the radio station. We renovated that.
Oh,
You know,
did
so
you? Okay.
yes, we did. It was a lot of fun, you know, and it was a lot of just a lot of memorabilia we got to work with and put on the walls and things like that. So yeah, we've done quite a bit. Salons, you know, yeah.
Linda, there is another question in the chat window real quick from Ruth. What ideas do you have for places to gain rehabbing experience on the job?
What ideas do I have for places to gain?
Yes.
I can clarify the
Yeah.
question.
Okay.
Linda, my name is Ruth, and really thank you so much. This has been really, really, really educative. So you started by saying that you learned a lot on the job, like going places and being taught some electrics, some, hanging drywall. So today, if I wanted to learn that, what are some ideas of where do I go for that to learn on the job?
You just call me.
Call you. Thank you. Okay, good.
I will put you on the site and I will show you some things that you can do. Yes, absolutely. I love working with, anybody, but I love working with women too, because I was, one of those, I didn't know how to hold a drill, and so I would love to be able to walk you through that. And so, just call me, okay?
Okay, good. Thank you, Linda. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You have my phone number. It's in the
I got it.
When I was in Georgia, I volunteered with Habitat for Humanity. And and I learned to tile just a bathroom wall, but I tiled a whole bathroom wall, and they started with me and showed me how to do it. So that's another good place.
It is. Habitat is a wonderful place, and it's a good purpose, that they're doing that too. That's absolutely right. Habitat is another one.
I have a question for Cheryl Ash. Is there something you don't know how to do? Because I cross paths with you and you're like doing everything.
Yeah.
Congratulations and thank you for being.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a great influence in our community.
Oh, awesome.
I will say too, real quick, from just, we're talking a lot on this call about flipping houses. Now, from a city perspective, I'll put on my city hat for a minute here. I don't have any problem with flipping houses as long as it's local people flipping local houses and helping improve their neighborhood. I think that's the kind of flipping that we're pretty interested in and really want to encourage. We're sort of less interested in people from outside of South Bend buying up properties and flipping them. And I think, Linda, hopefully that's, it sounds like your investors are mostly local people and, strongly encourage working locally and understanding, your own neighborhood or the neighborhoods around you, and having part of the mission of your work being to make money, but also to improve where we all live. So I just want to throw that out there. When we talk about flipping, the city is not necessarily encouraging a bunch of house flippers to come into South Bend, but we do love the idea of local people taking on the work.
Absolutely. And I would even say, what a nice thing to do is farm an area, it's get an area that you are interested in and farm that area. And in the sense that you work, work this house and then look around the neighborhood. People are going to stop through. They're going to, you'll see houses down the street. They'll get to know you. And when they get ready to sell, they'll say, hey, I seen you with this house. Would you do ours? So farming area, you can get used to it, and you can build that little area up too. So
Yep, we're a big fan of that approach as well, and that's one of the tenets of incremental development, which we've been talking about a lot. It is time to say goodbye, but before we do so, I want to just put up on the screen our series calendar again. So obviously we're taking a holiday break and a New Year's break, but back on January 19th for a very interesting session on architecture and design. So we have two female architects, Linda, who have a lot of experience doing small scale development. And they are going to join us for a call and just talk about lessons learned, tips and tricks that they've discovered over the years, where you might want to put some of your money and where it's maybe less important to put your money in terms of architecture and design. So I hope that folks, if you found this call useful, I think you'll find the next one useful as well. We're excited about that call on January 19th. Same format, same thing, third Wednesday, same time, 6:30. I'll send out an invitation or a reminder. But before we go, I just want to say thank you to Linda. You were as great as I thought you were going to be.
Oh, you're generous.
really your philosophy dovetails really closely with the way we talk about doing this kind of work with our incremental development group and from a city perspective as well. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. And you all had great questions, and I hope that some of the information was helpful. But again, I'm an open book, so feel free to call me or text me. Either way, I will get back with you. Okay. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Holiday.
Thank you.
Here.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
Oh yeah. Thank you, Jose, also for helping us moderate. I'm sorry. I should have. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael, for the great film.
Yeah. Sorry, I forget things.